Alright, so this next reaction is scary knockouts in MMA that have a fire on a stretcher by the Fight Focus. Now you know what's most scary is that notice that the MMA fire are very tough, man. I always support one of the MMA firemen and women at the same time that, you know, doesn't get back up because they know if he had like a concussions or you know try to choke him real hard, you know put too much pressure to it or I mean it could be a neck broken or anything like that. Cause man, like the whole thing about it, like it's too much scary when your family or your friend or your girlfriend, boyfriend that with you in the crowd and you saw yourself in the stretcher, like god damn, why am I got myself into this mess? I should never compete. I should have like they should have like wait till like next like month, like the next month till I continue my training, and then I'll be ready. I mean, that's the whole thing about it because they won't let you. They don't let you like wait for the other month because you gotta get knocked out very easily, and you're probably gonna get concussion or CTE or how the same thing, of course. But yeah, man, that shit's very scary, man. But yo, let's check it out in five, four, three, two.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Fight Focus.
And for today's video, we will be covering scary knockouts in MMA that had fighters on a stretcher.
Also, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe,
Man.
and comment what video you want to see next. Let's get to it.
First off, we want to thank the brave men and women that go through ruthless training camps and put their health on the line to keep us entertained. In a sport like mixed martial arts, expect the unexpected. When kicks, punches, and knees are thrown in the mix, then don't be surprised if serious injuries follow. For this video, we have compiled a list of instances where MMA fighters got knocked out so bad that they had to be stretchered out of the octagon. Number 11, Igor Zinoviev.
Wrestler in the world. Oh, he's out. He's out.
After a couple of exchanges, Shamrock got a hold of Zinoviev, lifted him up and planted him into the mat for a flash slam knockout. The potency of the move was obvious from the moment of impact. Zinoviev was slammed awkwardly onto his collarbone area, with Shamrock adding an extra bit of oomph to what already would have been a brutal spill. The challenger went completely stiff as soon as he landed and needed to be stretchered out of the octagon. Zinoviev was diagnosed with a broken clavicle and a fractured C5 vertebrae, and unfortunately was never seen inside the cage again. Number 10, Timothy Woods. One of the scariest self-knockouts in MMA you'll ever see.
I'm glad one of the MMA, Frank Shamrock is checking on him. I really respect that. That's a whole sportsmanship. They have to check on him and see if he was okay. Cause I mean, you didn't do that on purpose. Maybe it was an accident, or actually, well, you did that on purpose, or was it an accident? I'm like, oh man, I ain't mean to do that. I ain't mean to like slam him that hard. And yo, man, I respect Frank Shamrock. And if you don't know, that's Ken Shamrock's brother. I did not know, or maybe that was something else. I'm
Be stretchered out of the octagon. Zinoviev was diagnosed with a broken clavicle and a fractured C5 vertebrae, and unfortunately was never seen inside the cage again. Number 10, Timothy Woods. One of the scariest self-knockouts in MMA you'll ever see happened at CES 48 in Rhode Island. Tim Caron scored a knockout of Timothy Woods just 83 seconds into their bout at CES MMA 48. But it was somewhat of a hollow win for Caron, as Woods actually knocked himself out while attempting to take Caron to the canvas. Caron hit the stunned Woods with 3 punches on the floor before the referee called out the bout. and Karan was declared the winner via knockout. According to Sherdog.com, the fighter was ultimately removed from the octagon via stretcher, though he was responsive in moving his extremities. Number 9, Aljamain Sterling. Marlon Moraes was so dominant that he made his opponent dab in his sleep.
Wow. When he separates, back to the center they go.
Unfortunately for Sterling, the Serra-Longo talent ended up on the receiving end of a brutal KO just 1 minute into the first round. The result of a takedown attempt that Moraes timed perfectly with a kick that put the Brazilian's knee right on the jaw of the Funkmaster was the perfect equation that had Sterling carried out of the octagon on a stretcher. But while the KO caused a scary scene in the moment, it didn't seem to have had too many prolonged effects, maybe some PTSD. Number 8, TJ Waldberger. The reaction on this knockout was actually pretty terrifying though.
Paid for the takedown. Yeah, I'm gonna go scary. TJ's in trouble. He's in big trouble. Trying to finish it here. Big shot. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over.
Amagov went on to land 2 hard shots after Waldberger was already unconscious, and then it ended up being a scary scene. TJ remained flat on his back for a few minutes without moving before the medical team came into the octagon. The medical staff took a stretcher into the octagon and a cervical collar for Waldberger, who they eventually placed on the stretcher and took out of the arena, right in front of his family. The good news was there was no need for the collar, but it was still a very frightening scene. Number 7, Jeremy Bullock. To this day, we have no clue how this fight was even put together. Just 44 seconds into this bout, Travis Fulton picked up Bullock like a toddler and slammed him to the canvas, hurting him pretty bad. Bullock was screaming and writhing in pain while the crowd would cheer, but Fulton actually looked concerned. The ref checked to make sure that Bullock was alright, but his screams of pain were being drowned out by the screams of excitement. Jeremy was then taken away on the stretcher with a neck brace, and all Fulton could do was stand back looking nervous that he may have just killed the guy. Thank God for Travis and us, that wasn't the case. Number 6, Al Monteval. Now this kick was no joke.
Oh, Tavon Chukwi ends it with a head kick.
Just as Monteval was retreating, Tafon delivered an unexpected kick to his chin, leaving him knocked the out. The referee instantly stopped the fight as medics rushed to his aid. Monteval, fighting out of Alaska, was left motionless for 5 minutes as his light heavyweight opponent checked on his welfare, but Al would later be stretchered out of the octagon. Number 5, Kyoji Horiguchi. American Top Team's Kyoji Horiguchi was having a good night until he wasn't. He showcased a great skill set, but to the shock of many, he was caught with a devastating spinning back fist in the 4th round of the bout. The blow was so devastating that there was no need to follow up at all. One good thing is that the referee was alert in following the action, so any follow-up shots to the head of unconscious Horiguchi were prevented. But sadly, a stretcher had to come out for the defeated fighter. Number 4, Charlie Ontiveros.
Kevin just ragdolled right back down. Big brother treatment.
He knocked out.
Stop! Oh, and there's
Holland slammed newcomer and late replacement fighter Charlie Ontiveros to earn the verbal submission win. Referee Mark Smith was quick to jump in on the action after the Trailblazer dunked Ontiveros on his neck. Ontiveros stepped in on extremely short notice to replace Mahmoud Muradov. The latter didn't show up to the virtual media day. Ontiveros couldn't capitalize on the main card opportunity and instead left the cage on a stretcher. Number 3, Dong Hyun-seo. This fight was at TFC Dream 5 Korea vs Japan and had Byung-seo Kim come out the victor. The terrifying finish came in the middle of the 2nd round and had Dong Hyun fall backwards, hitting the back of his head. As Byung would jump on the cage to celebrate, the camera would go back to the knocked out fighter, sadly showing that he was having a seizure. After the medical team would rush in and check on him, a stretcher was also brought in to take the fighter to the hospital right after. Dong Hyun hadn't fought since, but the victor of this bout would go on to fight a year after this one. Number 2, Brennan Ward. It would have been insane to leave this one out.
Spinning elbow.
The Nottinghamshire-born fighter once again showcased the explosive power that earned the name Simtex to drop Ward with 2.27 left on the clock in the first round. And his crushing knee inflicted some serious damage on Ward, whose face was shown to be badly split open in a picture shared from the dressing room after. Luckily, despite having to be carried out of the ring on a stretcher in a neck brace, he did not sustain any major injuries. Number 1, Jordan Tittoni.
Right hand, a second TKO stoppage from Patrick Sabatini and his return to CFFC.
Jordan Tittoni collapsed after taking hits flush to his face from Pat Sabatini in the closing stages of their first round contest in Mississippi. Tittoni was not instantly knocked down by the assault, but doctors were soon concerned as he remained on the canvas for quite some time. Former champion Sabatini's initial celebrations with his team turned to concern as he realized that the punches to Tittoni's body and chin had culminated in a more long-term threat to his victim's health. Tittoni was described by one source as unresponsive to treatment, although he was said to have raised his thumb in the air as he was eventually carried from the ring on a stretcher. And that right there concludes this video. If you made it this far, please let us know how we did in the comments below.
Alright, MMA fans, thank you.
God damn, man. That was the most scariest knockout I ever seen, man. Cause that shit is messed up how this happens. But but shout out to most of the MMA fighters for check up on him, because check up on your opponent and see he's okay, cause he's not feeling right. He could be having a seizure, or he's not going back up, a concussion, a CTE. I mean, goddamn, that was very scary, man. Very scary. Like, man, like, that's how the true sportsmanship is. Like, you gotta check up on him, and the MMA fighter had to check up on him and see he's okay. You're like, yo, you all right? I mean, I didn't mean to hit you that hard, but that was my fault, man. And I would did the same thing if that happens, cause if that would have happened, I was like, yo, I'm sorry, man, I didn't mean to do that like that. I mean, that's all about is, man. It's about the sportsmanship, Try to respect each other. Not being too much of the asshole and be all cocky and shit. Cause otherwise, you don't respect any sportsmanship.